All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside in Tennis podcast. Mitch Michals here, special edition of this week's show. We're all part of the Believe Network, so excited to be on this podcast platform. We're on Apple, Spotify, on the Believe Network. A lot of great content there. As the tennis season rolls along, we got the chance today to speak to friends of the program back again, now two-time major champions, a popular doubles team, unless you're maybe from Australia or Italy, but it's Patten and Harri Heliövaara. Fellas, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back. It's exciting to talk to you guys yet again.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to talk to you again. Let's see what we can improve about the doubles on tour.
Yeah, the first thing too, and I guess Henry, I can ask you this too, because I'm a firm believer in look good, play good. You guys are both lotto athletes now. I know you were the last time, and the kits were looking sharp in Australia with the light blue. So I don't know if you guys believe in that, like starting off with the lighter one, but you look good, you play good, and you feel good out there as well.
Well, that's very kind. Yeah, I think Lotto do a great job. It was great kit for Australia, kind of blue and white, very, very classic Australia colors. And yeah, we were matching, which is also nice. A lot of the top guys are matching out there. If you look at Arabella Pavic and Beleli Vavasori, they're all matching. So yeah, maybe it helped us sync up a little bit more. I don't know. But it worked out well.
Yeah, and Harry, you've had a couple more, let's say, trips around the sun as a doubles player than Henry. So this time of year, a couple, light phrasing there. But this time of year, and I know you guys are coming off the Australian Open high, but this time of year, players can find their lull. It could be tough to find motivation. How are you staying energized this time of year playing now in the Middle East? I'm talking to you guys in between Doha and Dubai, but how do you stay active, things to work on, stay motivated this time of the calendar?
Yeah, you're right. It's very easy to be motivated in Australia when you start a new season. You're eager to go to the gym in the morning and work on some things, but I don't think it stops for us, especially after such a good result in Australia. We now maybe have new goals. We want to improve even more. Get towards the top of the ranking. So I think that especially for me, and I'm sure for Henry, the ranking thing is a big thing that drives the passion. Keep working. We spent like 4 hours on court today, so working hard.
Yeah, Henry, what do you guys work on for 4 hours for the fans at home? That's a long time. We're thinking, okay, it's a lot of work, but what specifically or what certain things are you working on?
Well, I've got to come clean. I did about 3 hours, and then I think wisely left the court to let Harry just kind of bury himself in self-deprecation and hard work. Yeah, we're always working on things. So, obviously it was our first hit here today, and usually when you turn up to a new event, you want to get adjusted to the conditions. So that was what our first session was based around. Our first hour was based around. Hitting a lot of balls, going through everything really. Serve return especially is really important in doubles, and the balls are a little heavier this week. The courts are a little quicker, so there's a little adjustment. And then we played some points with Rohan Bapana and Ivan Dodic, which was a pleasure. Two legends of the game, and it kind of sharpened up. And then had a little nap for me anyway. And then hit the court this evening. Worked on some specifics. I know we both want to improve our return after last week. A little bit of receiver's partner. That there's just endless things to work on, and we feel that we can improve as a team in all aspects, and especially after last week. It was a good tournament for us, but we lost in the semi-finals, so of course there are going to be things from matches specifically that we're working on. So we're always hunting to improve.
Harry, when you go through a tournament that doesn't end in a win, which is a lot for tennis players, does it take a day to process? Do you just unplug for a little bit and then, 24 hours later, what can we work on? Or what's the process like of after you lose, getting back on the court and finding something to work on?
Yeah, especially the first night after a loss is usually difficult. For me, I struggle to fall asleep, and then you wake up in the morning, you're still thinking like, why did I do that? Why didn't I be smarter? But usually you might have a day off like we did yesterday, travel day after a loss. You can process. We had a little chat with our coach. What do we want to work on next? And usually there are always one or two things that stand out why we lost that match, but also at the same time you don't want to lose the focus. There's some bigger goals that you want to improve.
Yeah. So I've also noticed too, I think it's not just the secret, but, and Henry, you might have spoken on this as well, but when they film you guys playing, the camera cuts, the fire and ice really does come out. There's a calming presence and there's maybe a more aggressive presence. Is that a true comparison when we say like fire and ice for this doubles team?
Uh, yeah, I mean, on court,
Yeah.
certainly. I think off court, actually, we probably fall somewhere in the middle of those two extremes. But yeah, on court, yeah, I spoke in the press conference after Australia, and it was something that we'd spoken about as a team throughout the event. Was yeah, the broadcasters have definitely caught on that Harry's the one to watch, especially at the end of a match. He's usually got a crazy celebration lined up, and that's fine because yeah, that's his job in a team, and I think it's great for us to have that balance. You know, if the energy is getting a little bit low or we're getting a bit negative, he's the one that can always kind of bring us up again. And in the same way, if we're getting angry or maybe a little bit too fired up, then maybe I help to bring it down and keep our heads a bit level in certain moments. So yeah, it's not really, fortunately for us, it's not really something that we've had to put much effort into. I think for other teams, it maybe doesn't come as naturally, that balance. But for us, those are our personalities on court, and I think probably have been for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're very fortunate in that way.
Yeah, and it goes without saying how impressive it is because Harry, you've only been playing together. It hasn't even been a full year yet. I think April of 24. So to have that familiarity, there's obviously still a evolution of that, but to be that comfortable and kind of know how each other work and how to play off each other a little bit less than a year is kind of impressive in its own right.
It is. It's also sometimes it just happens automatically, which I think it did for us. That's what's when you know you found the right partner to play with, when the mental part of the game is kind of easy in the beginning, and then it's when it's easy in the beginning you can still improve, but you're not far from the perfect. But still, I mean, we still I need to remind myself before every match that okay, I'm the guy who brings energy. It probably doesn't happen automatically every time.
Yeah, I could imagine too, and as we kind of get into Australia, but everybody in tennis looks at those final matches, how exciting it is, but you have to get to that point. So for a lot of players, singles and doubles, it's that first, second round match. How do I have the energy when maybe it's not as hyped up? There's still a long road. 2 weeks is a long time. So as you know, Henry, like you got to get to the final and you got to find a way to have the energy all the way along through.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think at slams, you know, it's you know, you're obviously aware that you're at a slam, and these are tournaments that you've dreamt of playing for your whole life. So, I mean, for me at least, you know, the, the slams are a little bit different. I think it's easy to be very focused and very locked in. But yeah, you're right. At the same time, there's definitely some tension in the first rounds. I think that's been different for us, certainly kind of in Australia, and even looking back to the US Open. Maybe there's a little bit more pressure on us. You know, we're kind of a seeded pair now. Um, and yeah, so I think for me at least, trying to get through that tension and those nerves is more important, if anything, and allowing my personality and my game to come through that. Yeah, that's been a learning process.
Well, you guys won your second major in Australia. It was another thrilling run. And Harry, we can kind of start here. Way different, right? I mean, it was still euphoric to win a major, but this wasn't the surprise underdog Cinderella-esque story. As Henry said, you're seeded. You had to go through a tough route to get there still, but how different was it to not only back up the Wimbledon major by winning another one, but do it from a different vantage point, have maybe teams gunning for you a little bit, knowing who you were?
Yeah, I agree. Teams are coming at us now. I feel it even in the tournaments, not just Grand Slams. Obviously, the Wimbledon, it happened so quickly. Like it surprised probably everybody, us included. And it was such a special 2 weeks, just like flew by. And all was still after like, weeks after it happened, we were thinking, "Wow, did that really happen? Did we really win it?" But Australian Open, it's tough to say we expected to win that. You always go to a Grand Slam hoping to win it, but you're the only team that manages to do that of the 64. But I think it just gave us a big confidence boost doing that with the pressure that we have won before, And it also showed that the Wimbledon win wasn't an accident, and I think that's what we can be proud of.
Yeah, it's a common sentiment that backs it up. You get that second major, you can't use that word fluke or coincidence anymore. And Henry, I would just ask you, having been out there too, getting tested early, like you play Krajicek and Ram early, and then it's all those seeded players to win. But does that lock you in? Is it good in a way to have maybe a tougher match or tougher opponents early to snap you into that mindset of, okay, now these are higher stakes?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go back even to our first round where we played Segerman and Bolipali. Segerman I'd been training with in Chapel Hill in North Carolina over the preseason a bit, so I knew that he knew my game very well, and Bolipali is kind of a young up and comer on the Challenger and ATP tour. I think he won an ATP title at the end of last year. So like even the earlier rounds, you kind of get a jolt. And our first set at the Australian Open in the first round was a tiebreak, so we won it luckily 7-6, and it was a real scrap. So it's obviously nice to get through in straight sets, and maybe to have some easier matches along the way, but especially in doubles where it's not as physical as the singles, you want to be tested kind of from a tennis point of view as well. But yeah, there are no easy matches at slams, and yeah, I mean, by the end of the 2 weeks, I think everyone is playing probably at the highest level they can possibly play, because the level's so high and you're playing so much. So yeah, it's a challenge, but at the same time, I think it's good for everyone in a way.
There's so many different challenges that go with the sport and playing and being ready to play. Harry, one of them is the final match. It's one of the only sports I can think of where you don't even know what time you're going to be playing a lot of the time. So the final is Saturday night in Australia. You're waiting for this epic women's final match to end, the Madison Keys Sabalenka match. How do you, and whether it's this match or in general, stay warm, stay focused, not knowing when you're going to go out, but making sure that you're able to bring the energy and not be, too exhausted or too out of it by the time you take the court?
It's every time it's difficult. Personally, I found those late night matches a struggle. You don't want to do too much during the day. You don't want to be tired. You don't want to do too little, so you feel like you're not sharp. I think we managed to do it well. We had a hit late afternoon, then we ate. We just waited, and I found some strength in finding that the opponents didn't like that situation either. They played the final a year before, same time. They lost it, and they were kind of like not complaining, but you could see from their reactions that they didn't like it to be that late again. And I found some more energy from that. And just when you go on court, it's easy to give yourself an excuse. I'm not playing well because it's late at night, but it's the same for the opponent. So I just had to cut it out and just focus on what we can do, even at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, it's mental. It's like mental warfare, right, Henry? Like this is a one-on-one sport, but there's so much that goes into it, and you don't have to be the best in the world. You just got to be better than that team that day.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Harry just said. We were, all four of us were in the locker room, for quite a few hours before the match, kind of anxiously waiting. And Harry's right. You could absolutely see that they were getting agitated, and of course we were also getting kind of agitated and anxious. But yeah, it's the same for everyone. Everyone was drinking coffee, apart from Harry, but everyone was drinking coffee before we were going on. Everyone's going through the same thing, and kind of sharing that experience together. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good your preparation is or whatever it is. It's just as soon as you step out court, it's battle to the death, really.
So I just got from that too, Harry, not a coffee guy. Doesn't do it for you.
I don't drink coffee. I have some caffeine gels though, so I get my dose.
Okay, yeah, not completely out of it. I want to make sure everyone knows Harry does like caffeine too. Yeah, that match and really kind of a testament to the team, right? Is how you handle adversity in these big moments for a team that has two majors in such a short time. You play this epic first set tiebreaker against the Italians. It doesn't go your way. It's 18-16. In that moment, Henry, how are you able to just block it out? I know this quote was, okay, coffee and energy gels, like nothing can be done there, but it can be a really debilitating moment for a tennis player to lose such a brutal set like that in a best of three tennis. How are you able to block it out and just move forward to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened. And I mean, I literally did go over to my coach and say, can you grab me an espresso and all of the energy gels that I have in my locker, ASAP. Um, and that was it. And I'm not sure if it was because it was kind of so late at night or the adrenaline was still flowing. It's obviously, one of the biggest matches of my career. Um, but I never kind of really mentally got down about that tiebreak. And of course, you have to respect your opponents. They had been in the final the year before. They're one of the top teams in the world. So to lose a set 18-16 in a tiebreak is, it's while it's upsetting in the moment, it obviously could happen.
Yeah,
And even if we'd have lost a set 6-4 or 7-6 in a kind of normal tiebreak score, I think the reaction probably would have been the same. And what else can you do? You got to you got to keep going.
yeah.
But I also think being that late, we were in a bit of a daze. I think we were just kind of riding it in the zone, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, looking back on it, it showed that we have a lot of resilience as a team.
Yeah, Harry, what do you think the difference was in that comeback and the ability to turn the tide? Not only win the second set in a tiebreaker, but finish the job, win set three, and ultimately get that trophy.
Wish I knew. I would like to do it again. I think there were a couple of good comments that we shared on the court. I think one from Henry was, I think, during the second set when we were struggling a little bit. They I think they had a break point in the second set as well, and like Henry just told me, okay, let's stick together. And I think that I really liked the way that he said it. Like even though it wouldn't go our way, we would still be a team. We would like support each other as much as possible, be the best partners to each other. But also, funnily, the Wimbledon final we played was 6-7, 7-6, 7-6. So we had experience from exactly the same score, losing the first set 6-7 with set point, winning the second 7-6, and we knew just we're a tough team to beat. We just keep doing this, and even if they don't go down, we can maintain this level, and we'll see at the end who has the guts.
There is such a thing, right, as match toughness. I mean, you guys have established yourself as this big match team, big match players, but having that experience, right, like Henry, it's a huge thing. Is you've been there before. You're not going to run from a tight, crazy match that could be down to a couple points.
100%. And again, I have to admit, in that moment, I wasn't thinking about the Wimbledon final at all. I don't know if Harry maybe was, but I would have. It probably would have been a good thing if that had come into my mind and I was saying to myself, "Look, we've been here before." But yeah, maybe subconsciously, we know that we're tough. And more than that, I think it's just our identity on court. I think it's got to the point where we don't really have to think about it too much, and that's not to kind of play it down or discredit that. But I think that is our identity, especially if we go down. That we know we're difficult to beat, and we know that we can play well for a long time, and we can be mentally tough for a long time. So yeah, I guess that made the difference in the end.
So 2 a.m. in the morning, that's when it happens. Match point doesn't come back. You guys are Australian Open champs. What was that? Was it more euphoria or was it more exhaustion in the moment that, okay, we did this, it's exciting, but I got to imagine, Harry, there was just nothing left in the tank at that point.
There was not much. It is also great to compare the celebrations with Wimbledon, where we both fell on our knees, and this time in Australia we both just fell backwards on our backs, like we were just unconsciously did exactly the same thing, like with each other, and that just showed it was relief. It was over. We'd done it. Just not much left in the tank, but that match point, Henry hit an ace, which I think we both thought was out. So it was surprising that the call never came, and then it's the best thing in the world. The best, the 2 seconds when you realize you won it and you earned it. Just it
Yeah.
is euphoria.
I have to imagine that's the same Henry, right? 6 years ago, you're finishing up in college, and quickly we jump ahead. And now two major championships in dramatic fashion, just an unthinkable run, and really got to be a feeling that's indescribable in a lot of ways.
Completely indescribable, yeah. I mean, the initial reaction was one of just pure exhaustion. Maybe Harry had a little bit left. I don't think I had much left at all. in the tank, especially when I saw that serve go, and it was just pure relief, pure exhaustion. And then obviously coming around and enjoying some celebrations. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy to look back on the journey that I've been on. Obviously, the last year and a half or last year has happened very quickly. And yeah, I'm still in close touch with my college teammates, with my friends that I was traveling with to Futures, all of those people, and yeah, their support makes a massive difference, and it's so nice to still be in touch with those people. Keeps me grounded, keeps me level headed, and yeah, it's nice to know that they're supporting, and I think also it's nice to know that I'm impacting other people in a positive way, which is an absolute privilege. I think the best thing about being a tennis player is the ability to do that.
And then when you guys win, it's you're the team, Calvin Benton, your coach. What was, just so everyone out there listening or watching, that was the celebration, the meal? Maybe not as extravagant as you would think. What was that post-match celebration like, and what did it involve to eat?
Well, it's 3:30 a.m. in Melbourne when we got to our hotel. There are not that many choices, but luckily there was a 24/7 McDonald's very close by. So we had some cheeseburgers, sat on a bench on the street, and enjoyed that moment so much. It's probably the best cheeseburger I've ever had.
Yeah, just like Henry, they dream it up, right? Just eating McDonald's at 4 a.m, celebrating a title.
Yeah, pretty iconic, I think, really. I mean, but the truth of the matter is we did have no other options. So we walked. Yeah, we got back to the hotel 3:30 a.m. and then walked for about 15 minutes. I think we probably burnt 1 million calories during the match and during the evening, and yeah, it tasted pretty good. You know, a couple of cheeseburgers and a full fat Coke. So call me American, but yeah, it was pretty satisfying. Yeah.
No other way to do it. More here with Henry Patten and Harri Heliövaara here on the Inside in Tennis podcast, talking with the Australian Open and Wimbledon reigning doubles champions as we segue on going forward. Is there, and I can open this up to both of you, Harry, but is there something maybe you've learned that going into this post-major run, things you maybe handle differently about your game, your schedule, coming off of such a high with a lot of tennis in front of you, going back to Wimbledon and now, maybe how would you handle things differently, and what have you learned from that experience?
Well, I think you learn to realize how much it takes mentally to play a 2 week slam to win it, and you're both mentally and physically you need some time off. We were supposed to play in Dallas just less than a week from the Australian Open final, and we didn't do the decision immediately. But once we both got home, we realized there's just no way we want to go there. So in the end, we decided 3 weeks was the needed time to go back on the tour, and I think that was the right decision. After Wimbledon, we had 2 weeks off, played Washington. Maybe weren't ready for that back then, but now 3 weeks was probably the right amount of weeks to rest, practice, and then be ready for the next events.
Yeah, Henry, and that's great insight, because that's the part that we don't really see in front of the camera. But it almost seems like the physical rest, obviously, but the mental rest is something that doesn't get enough credit or respect, and how needed it is to go on this run again or go on a successful season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I alluded to it earlier, but you just put so much into every match in a slam. You know, 4 times a year, you put everything into it physically and mentally. And yeah, I think especially after the final match, we were completely drained. And it wasn't an easy decision to skip Dallas. It's not a position that either of us have necessarily been in before. Certainly skipping I would never think about skipping a 500, a year ago. We were playing challengers. But yeah, I mean, we discussed it with our coaches, obviously kind of family as well, and with each other. And we kind of wanted to play. Part of us wanted to play and get back out there, but I think that would have been probably not a great decision given the stretch that we have ahead of us. We've just played in Doha. We've got Dubai this week. Then it's Indian Wells and Miami, and then I think it's 1 week off before the clay season starts. So
Yep.
It's very hectic, and I think it's nice to be in a position to think about kind of the year ahead and making sure that we're able to perform at our best
Yeah.
wherever we are. yeah, it's that's been a little bit different for me, certainly, is planning out a schedule. Firstly, having the ability and the ranking to do that, but also actually having to think, blimey, I need to have some time for myself as well.
Yeah, it's a nice position to be in. It's also shows you, Harry, right? Like that, the love of a tennis player for playing tennis. It's tough. Like sometimes you have to have the battle of I want to just be on the court, but it's probably not good for me to go right now.
I know I had that battle. I went home, arrived at home Monday morning, and then Wednesday I was on practice court, like getting ready for Dallas, and just the body just doesn't work. It just I'm 35 years old now. I cannot just switch on like when I was younger. So I just
Uh,
gotta realize, gotta realize that, gotta respect the fact that the body and the mind, they need
yeah.
rest.
Is it more like stretching and warm up that's taken as you get older as an athlete? Is that the difference where you maybe could have just rolled out and okay, I'm good, I'm fresh, with more warm up time?
I need a lot of warm up time. I think 30 minutes to 45 is the minimum I can do nowadays. But on that Wednesday, even that
Yeah.
wasn't enough. The feet were not moving.
Yeah. Well, hey, like it's again like we were talking about a good opportunity, a good place to be in where you can plan out the schedule, take time off after much deserved time off after a win. The other thing that you experienced last year and are looking really good to experience this year was the ATP Finals, getting to the doubles event last year, and then again we'll see finishing guaranteed if it's 9 to 20, you're there again. It's looking very good with the Slam title. But Henry, what was that experience like to be recognized? I know it's not the same as a slam, but you're recognized as one of the premier teams, the final tournament, only the best are there. What was it like to be included in that?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was my first time playing it. Harry had played it before, so yeah, it was a bit of an eye opener for me. I mean, it's a phenomenal event. And yeah, every day you're obviously seeing the same other seven teams, and you're quite aware that they're also the best teams in the world, and it feels very, very special to be there, and to be there to compete against them. And I think what made it even more surreal was it was in Turin, which is where me and Harry had been a few months ago playing a challenger event, kind of under very different circumstances, just starting out. And yeah, it was an amazing way to cap off our year. And we obviously did really well. We were really proud of our performances, made it to the semis without losing a match, and then lost a tight one to the number one pair in the world. So yeah, it was great to take it all in, but even better to succeed at the event. Yeah, definitely brought a lot of confidence into the start of this year. Yeah, it was massive for us, I think, actually.
Yeah, your peers are at that point the very best in the world. So I'd imagine that just Harry being there, you've had the experience in the past, but being recognized as one of the greats. And you can kind of give Henry a little pointers for how the round robin format works. A little different than literally every other tennis tournament, just about playing round robin.
No, I love the round robin. You're guaranteed three matches, so you don't have the stress. But I mean, we won the three matches in our
Yeah.
groups. We played really well, enjoyed the moment, and I think it's also not only you're like compared to the best doubles teams in the world, but also the best tennis players in the world. Like there are very few tennis players in that tour final tournament, and you're all superstars when you go there. That's maybe different than what you get on the tour as a doubles guy. So touring,
Yeah.
they you're on the center court playing in front of the whole crowd, and that's really exciting. That's why you want to give your best too.
Yeah, not as much stress over finding practice courts. It's a lot less bodies in there too. And I know, and I wanted to ask you guys as well too, because there's been a lot of discussion with doubles and everything right now. And you both play mixed, and I think you've talked about how it's supplemental to what you do on the men's doubles court. But did you have any thoughts on the U.S. Open's decision to kind of switch up the mixed doubles? I know it's been a hot button issue. Henry, if there was anything you had to say on that, or any one way or the other thoughts on the decision to essentially make it like a giant prize money exhibition.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I mean, one thing I can say for sure is that it will be a huge success,
Mm.
and I think it'll be a great event. I think it'll bring a lot of eyeballs onto doubles, and I think that's a good thing. So I think that's great. I think you're right. I think the format. It's short sets, and a much smaller draw, half of which will be wild cards. I think that does make it more of an exhibition. So the only thing that I kind of personally take issue with is that they are calling it a slam. I think that maybe, well, Harry can speak to this, but having won it before, but I think it slightly, discredits champions of the past, really. It's just not the same effort to win that event as it is to win the mixed format in the past. So I think that's a bit of a shame. But this is the world that we live in. The broadcasters have a lot of money and a lot of power, and so if they're not going to do both of them and they have to do that, then okay, that's fine. I guess time will tell whether it's good for tennis or not. That's the only thing. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and Harry, if you had anything to add as well, I know you've had more experience in there, having won it before, but it's as Henry said, a different world now that we're going down this path, but understandable from a business decision.
Absolutely, and I think that will increase how much people watch mixed doubles. It will be a great success. I believe in that. It's going to be prime time on TV, and hopefully the club player will play more mixed doubles because of that. But it sucks for us doubles guys. Obviously, we're not part of that, and we believe we would be good enough to be in that draw, and that's maybe why it's a little unfair that we could win, or at least be close to winning the mixed doubles, but we're not allowed in the tournament anymore.
Yeah, hopefully at this point, if it is successful, maybe we'll get bigger draws. Scoring can get back to normal. We can kind of improve it. But yeah, it's going to be different to see where we go. A couple more things with Henri Patten and Harri Heliövaara here on the Inside in Tennis podcast. I know it's been, really rosy the last, year, just a lot of success. But how do you each process the tough moments? Tennis is a sport where there's a lot of losses. There's a lot of down moments. It can be lonely. Obviously, you guys are partners, so you can mitigate that a little bit. But Henry, how do you kind of gear up and deal with the tough moments that tennis brings?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been very fortunate in that we, as a pair, haven't really had that many tough moments. And in fact, we were just talking the other day, saying that there probably will be tough moments where, last week we lost in the semi-finals and we were getting pretty down about it. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that tough. We take another flight. We have another chance this week. But it's not uncommon for pairs to go on a kind of losing streak. That's the nature of doubles. The margins are so fine with the scoring format. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully we'll be all right.
Yeah.
I think our saving grace really will be that we are really good friends off the court, and also that we're very open and direct with each other. We're able to discuss anything, and I think that's a real kind of benefit of our partnership. Last week in the second round, I returned terribly, and we were quite happily discuss why I was returning terribly. There's no hiding from that. It's just, let's turn around and try and improve it. And so, yeah, we are anticipating maybe some tougher times to come up. But I think that our friendship and our partnership is strong enough to withstand that.
Do you think as well, Harry, that part of it is being able to, having the experience, knowing there's going to be ups and downs, and also knowing that you can evolve how you play and really make adjustments is the beauty. It's not easy. If it was, everyone would do it, but there's always the ability to improve and change things up, which makes tennis special.
Yeah, I mean, we're one of the best teams in the world, but we still have so many things to improve. That's why we spend the hours on court every day. We want to get better because the others are getting better as well. But like Henry said, I think we're very lucky in that sense that we can talk about things. We can be direct. There's no blaming. We lose as a team, we win as a team. But I mean, so far we've been winning a lot. So I think we just keep doing that so we don't have to discuss the bad things.
Yeah. It was also pretty cool to see you guys, and you embrace that in these doubles tournaments, you're going to come across singles players, sharing the court with Novak Djokovic and Fernando Verdasco in his last event, and then beating them. But it has to just be another bucket list thing. You're out there against the guy that's won more than anything, Henry, in the history of the sport.
Yeah, he's got some aura about him, that boy. Yeah, I can't really describe what that was like. I mean, the other thing is it was Fernando Verdasco's final match, who I grew up watching. I'm a left-hander myself, like an absolute legend of the sport. Yeah, a very partisan crowd, I would say. Yeah, it was completely surreal. And even, I was on the same side as Novak for warming up, and I was so tight warming up with Novak, and I had the wind in my face, and he's got a pretty heavy ball, so I was just kind of like, just put the ball in the court, just put the ball in the court. Yeah, but it was surreal. But I think it also highlighted, the beauty of doubles. He struggled a little bit out there, especially on returns, which is where you would think he would not struggle. And it shows why doubles specialists are so effective. He probably hit a few too many returns down the center of the court, which in singles is fantastic, but in doubles you've got a partner to kind of chop those off. So yeah, it was a really interesting match, quite a close match as well, and yeah, obviously we were thrilled to get the win, and yeah, like you say, tick it off the list, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry being out there with those two, obviously Verdasco too, retiring in his last match, but those are the experiences and why you play, to get in those situations where you're in a big match feel, a guy with such aura and just the opportunity to compete at that level.
Oh yeah, I gotta admit it was difficult even the night before to focus on like our own game. All you can think about, oh wow, it's gonna be Novak on the other side. It's gonna be
Yeah.
Novak on the other side. Like I'm not gonna be able to serve one single good serve that he can't return. But at the end, he was like like one of us. So he
Yeah.
made some return errors. He of course he hasn't played that much double, so he wasn't that good at the net as you would perhaps expect him to be if he practiced more doubles. But it was such a great experience, and yeah, to get the win, be 1-0 against Djokovic, that's a nice little thing that you
Yeah.
can tell your friends after your career.
We'll take
That's
it.
good. That's definitely it. Well, you guys have been on just a heater, as we mentioned, Henry 3, Harry 4. The points will match up soon enough, but these are top 5 players that are gunning for the number 1 world ranking as well. But as far as goals go, and I was looking at this too, it's kind of backwards, I'd say. Like now the goals are to win 1,000 and a 500. Usually it's the other way around, 500,000 slam. But Henry, now we're trying to chop down the list a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's a good point. Like we've achieved so much, but at the same time, we haven't had that much success in tour events, really. Lost in the semis last week. That was a bit disappointing. And, we've got another chance this week to win a 500. And yeah, 1000s. We haven't played that many 1000s. We're both really looking forward to Indian Wells and Miami. It's kind of 2 back-to-back weeks where we get to really sink our teeth into it on the hard courts, which I think suits us well. And yeah, really, really try and go for it. And obviously, if we do well in those, then we should be in a good position to chase the number 1 ranking. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm just hoping we can get to the number 1 ranking before our points match up, because then I'll be number 1 and Harry will be number 2, and that's all I want.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about that, Harry. The fact that there's this 20 extra points that Henry's just dangling over you right now.
Now I know why
But
we lost the semis last. I mean, I think he sabotaged.
no, I've done my calculations, and after Miami, I will be ahead of Henry
Ooh,
until Wimbledon. We have the same amount of points, but he played 2 tournaments without me last summer when I was injured, so that's my time to shine.
it's been a real pleasure to watch you guys, and I think that's part of it too, right? Like you admitted it, Harry, after like it's finding the right partner and finding someone that matches up with you, shares similar mindset that you obviously get along with. As much as the tactics and the styles and play and how you gel up matter, finding the right partner, someone that you kind of get along with and gel with, is the most important thing.
Oh, definitely. I think I've been very fortunate during my doubles career in the last couple of years to Lloyd Glasspool was a great partner for me for the 2.5 years when we both got up from outside top 100 to made it to top 10, and then I had a little drop, and now found another Brit to play even better with. I think, yeah, I've been very lucky in my life. Like on tennis court to find great partners, find the best coaches in the world through playing with the Brit, and
Yeah.
if you can compare, you can be quite lucky to find a partner as your wife as well, who
Mm.
supports me doing this. So it's all about the right people around you.
Yeah, that Henry British Finnish connection just going strong, apparently. Who knew that was the secret to unlock?
Apparently, yeah. I think Harry's kind of sponging off of us a little bit, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, is obviously a joy for me, and same. I feel very lucky. I feel lucky that Harry and Lloyd played together, so that we were kind of in the same sphere. And yeah, you do look back and kind of think, man, imagine if this hasn't happened. But yeah, it's best to keep looking forwards. We are where we are, and yeah, try and keep doing as best as we can.
It'll be the Sunshine Double coming up. You got the road to Roland Garros. There's just so much exciting tennis in front of this team. It's going to be fun to follow. Last thing for you guys, though, we had to talk about it last year. There was that contentious moment on the show about the golf game where it was supposed to be Harry's game, and Henry kind of alluded that, hey, why don't you ask him what the score was? So how's the golf matchups been? Have you played since then, and how's it been going with you two on the links?
We haven't played. No, I put a lot of work into my golf game over preseason, as well as my tennis game. So I'm feeling pretty good. We might have to have another chat after Indian Wells. I think there's definitely going to be some golf played there. I'm feeling pretty good about it. There's a lot of pride at stake. There's a lot on the line. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge. I think Harry's going to have his work cut out.
Yeah, Harry, he's got chess. You can't have golf too. We're gonna have to find another sport then if he's got you in this one too.
Oh, luckily last night I beat him in ping pong, which he was very unhappy with. So I have some sports I can beat him in.
Okay. That's good. You got to get the leg up when you can. The ranking points, how that's going to go, ping pong, golf. But whatever happens, it's been a blast, fellas, talking to you guys. Again, much success. I wish you going forward. That's Henry Patten and Harri Heliövaara, Australian Open champs, Wimbledon champs, and just starting out, not even completing their first year as a partnership, exceeding all expectations, 2-time slam winners. Fellas, thanks for joining the show. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mitch.
That was Henry Patten, Harri Heliövaara. This was the Inside in Tennis podcast. We're available on all your platforms. Just go to Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and you can watch the full video episodes with these guys on the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals as well. All part of the Believe Network. Tons of great content there. We'll be back. There's episodes bi-weekly, so there's a lot of shows to keep you get your tennis fix on. Follow all the tour action with some exceptional players like these gentlemen, as well as coaches, analysts, and much more. So for Henry Patten and Harri Heliövaara, my name is Mitch Michals. Thank you for listening or watching the Inside in Tennis podcast. I'll talk to you soon.